Have you ever wondered why some countries prosper while others struggle to meet the basic needs of their citizens? Imagine a world where opportunities and resources are evenly distributed, where every nation enjoys the same level of prosperity. A beautiful thought, isn't it? But alas, we live in a world marked by stark global inequality. This inequality is visible in every aspect of life, from the food we eat, the education we receive, to the healthcare services we can access. So, what exactly is this global inequality? Well, it's a broad term that covers disparities in income, wealth, quality of life, and opportunities between different countries. It's why some nations have towering skyscrapers, and others have homes made of mud and straw. It's why some children go to school in air-conditioned classrooms, while others sit under a tree with a slate and chalk. How do we measure this inequality, you ask? Several parameters define a country's development status. One of the most common is gross domestic product, or GDP, which represents the total value of goods and services produced over a specific time period. But GDP alone isn't enough. We also need to consider factors such as life expectancy, education, and income levels. To make this easier, the United Nations created the Human Development Index, or HDI. It's a comprehensive measure that combines all these elements to provide a snapshot of a country's development status. It's like a report card for countries, grading them on how well they're doing in providing their citizens with a good quality of life. But, as we'll soon discover, not all countries score well on this report card. Some are burdened with economic, social, and political challenges that hinder their development. These nations, often referred to as the least developed countries, find themselves at the bottom of the global development ladder, struggling to provide even the most basic services to their citizens. It's time to delve deeper into this disparity and understand the circumstances of the world's least developed countries. Among the least developed countries, some stand out for their unique challenges. Let's explore a snapshot of these nations and their unique struggles on the path to development. South Sudan, the world's youngest nation, is grappling with the repercussions of conflict and weak governance. This has resulted in an alarming rate of child mortality, painting a grim picture of the country's future. Despite the immense potential of this fledgling country, the road to development seems fraught with obstacles. Moving over to Chad, we see a paradox of sorts. Despite being rich in resources, internal strife has stymied the country's progress. The wealth that could have been used to uplift the nation instead fuels conflict and instability, leaving the populace in a state of perpetual struggle. Niger, too, is ensnared in a cycle of political instability and poverty. The country's efforts towards development are continually thwarted by these challenges, keeping it mired in underdevelopment and its people in hardship. The Central African Republic also contends with a similar paradox as Chad. Despite abundant resources, ongoing instability hinders any significant progress. The nation's wealth remains untapped and the people continue to suffer. In Burundi, historical ethnic tensions persist, severely impeding the country's development. The legacy of these tensions continues to cast a long shadow over the nation's future, making the path to progress a complex and arduous journey. Lastly, we have Mali, a country grappling with insurgencies and political unrest. The constant state of turmoil keeps the nation in a state of flux, making sustainable development a distant dream. From South Sudan to Mali, the common threads weaving these nations' narratives are conflict, weak governance, political instability, and resource mismanagement. These factors, either individually or collectively, contribute to their status as the least developed countries. These countries serve as a stark reminder of the enduring challenges of development. They underscore the fact that the journey towards progress is not a straightforward one, but rather a complex interplay of various social, political, and economic factors. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the more developed nations. These are countries where advancements in various sectors have provided a higher standard of living for their citizens. The most striking characteristic of these nations is their robust infrastructure. From sprawling metropolises with towering skyscrapers to well-connected transport systems, these nations have capitalized on the advantages of the industrial age. Their cities are well lit, their roads are well paved, and their homes are equipped with modern amenities, making life more convenient and comfortable for their residents. Another defining feature of developed nations is their high gross domestic product, or GDP. This economic indicator reflects the market value of all goods and services produced within a country in a year. A high GDP suggests a strong economy, and in developed nations this wealth is often more evenly distributed among the population, leading to a higher average income per person. Strong educational systems also set these nations apart. In developed countries, education is not just a privilege for the few, but a right for all. Schools are well funded, teachers are well trained, and students have access to a wealth of resources. This emphasis on education leads to a more informed and skilled workforce, which in turn drives economic growth and innovation. Advanced healthcare is another hallmark of developed nations. With a significant portion of their budgets allocated to health, these countries boast state-of-the-art medical facilities and cutting-edge research. They have lower mortality rates, higher life expectancies, and better overall health outcomes. But as we take stock of these advancements, it's important to remember that they stand in stark contrast to the conditions in the least developed countries. Where one nation has skyscrapers, another has huts. Where one has high-speed trains, another has dirt roads. Where one has universities, another has schools with no roofs. Where one has hospitals, another has clinics with no doctors. The contrast couldn't be more glaring, but what leads to such vast differences? As we move forward, we must ask ourselves this question and seek to understand the factors behind this global inequality. The gap between the world's most and least developed nations didn't occur overnight. It's a complex puzzle shaped by historical, political, economic, and socio-cultural factors, each piece intertwining with the next in a myriad of ways. Let's start with history. Some nations have been burdened with the legacy of colonialism, leading to political instability, economic exploitation, and social divisions. For instance, we see this in many African nations, where the arbitrary borders drawn by colonial powers have fueled ethnic conflicts, hindering development efforts. Next, political factors. Strong, accountable governance is fundamental to development. Countries like South Sudan and Chad, despite their enormous potential, grapple with internal conflicts and weak governance. This results in limited industrial infrastructure and inadequate allocation of resources for education and healthcare, stunting their growth. Economic factors also play a significant role. A nation's wealth isn't just about the abundance of natural resources, but how these resources are managed. The Central African Republic, despite its resource wealth, struggles with economic instability due to poor governance and conflict. Similarly, Niger, despite its mineral riches, contends with widespread poverty due to political instability. Lastly, socio-cultural factors like education and health are also vital. A well-educated and healthy population is more productive, contributing to a country's economic growth. However, in countries like Burundi and Mali, high poverty rates lead to high child mortality and limited access to quality education, creating a vicious cycle of underdevelopment. So, the development divide is not a simple case of haves and have-nots. It's about how nations manage their resources, govern their people, resolve their conflicts, and invest in their human capital. Peace and stability are fundamental to fostering development, as they create an environment where economic activities can thrive and resources can be allocated effectively. Understanding these factors is crucial to bridging the development divide. So what can you, as a global citizen, do to help bridge this gap? Well, the first step is educating yourself. Knowledge is power, and understanding the complexities of global inequality is crucial. It's not just about the statistics and facts. It's about the stories and the people behind these numbers. Reading about the least developed countries, their struggles and their triumphs, can offer a grounded perspective on the world's economic landscape. Once you've dipped your toes into the waters of information, the next step is to share this knowledge. Conversation sparks change. Talk to your friends, your family, your colleagues about these issues. Use your voice on social media platforms to raise awareness about global inequality and the challenges faced by the least developed countries. But awareness alone is not enough. It's time to put your words into action. There are numerous non-profit organizations that work tirelessly to improve conditions in these countries. They focus on a range of issues, from education and healthcare to infrastructure and governance. Supporting these organizations, be it through donations or volunteer work, can help create tangible change. Another way to contribute is by advocating for policies that promote global equality. This could involve lobbying your local government representatives or supporting international institutions that prioritize development aid. Remember, policy change can have a profound impact on the lives of people living thousands of miles away. Finally, remember that change doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey. It requires patience, perseverance, and most importantly, a sense of hope. Hope that one day, the gap between the world's richest and poorest nations will be a thing of the past. Remember, every step towards understanding and action can make a world of difference. Start your journey today.